this is Tressie McMillan Cotton, who we had on this program not too long ago, right? Was this a vacation show? Yeah. Folks, if you haven't heard this interview with Tressie McMillan Cotton, Tressie McMillan Cotton, go back and listen to it. I can't remember the date. We'll have it in a moment. But she was talking about for-profit colleges and why Wall Street exacerbated this problem. I've mentioned on this program many times in the past that if you were to go look at like an ETF, electronically traded or whatever EFT, it's basically a fund of, you can look at a fund for just about every industry, but one for-profit colleges. You will see a slow drop over the course of the last Obama administration, when they started to really crack down. They basically said there are certain colleges or certain accreditors that we will no longer recognize. And because for-profit colleges make 90% of their revenue, at least, off of student loans provided by the government, if the government, as the first lender, says we will not lend to students who go to a university that is accredited by certain accreditation companies because they're not legit. And it caused, I think, ITT and one others to basically go bankrupt because they were not real in terms of what they were providing their students. You can see like a slow drop in the value of these for-profit universities, and literally 24 hours after Donald Trump is elected, they shoot up like a rocket. And many of these institutions are picked up 100% in their valuation on the stock market over the past couple of years. But here is Tressie McMillan Cotton. And I think she's testifying to Elizabeth Warren. This is the Senate. I'm not sure which committee this is, but let's listen to it.
You've also written about what turbocharged the rapid growth of for-profits over the past couple of decades. Wall Street. That Wall Street investors and shareholders, always on the prowl for the next moneymaker, realized that for-profit colleges were a gold mine because in our system of weak accountability, which Dr. Looney was referring to just a minute ago, as long as they kept enrolling more and more students, especially low-income students, more and more federal aid dollars would flow straight into their pockets. Since for-profit colleges are, by definition, the only colleges allowed to make gobs of money that can be pulled out of the school and distributed to owners, to shareholders, and to Wall Street investors without strong federal accountability, what market incentives do for-profits have to deliver a high-quality education at a low price?
Oh, at a low price. Well, there you did complicate the question, Senator Warren. So there is a market incentive, to be fair, that students can vote with their feet, is what we say. That if students do not get a good education, that they can just not enroll, and that is supposed to be the market feedback loop. That again takes for granted that those students have other choices. So one thing that I have learned is that poor students and women of color have gotten the message. We have done a wonderful job over the last 25 years of a public messaging campaign that says that everyone needs to go to college, that everyone needs some post-secondary education. It has been extremely successful. What has been less successful is that we have not met the success of that message with a plethora of high-quality institutional choices for all students. And so in the gap, what happens is that the market takes advantage of the fact that our messaging takes care of a lot of the quality branding problems for higher education and for for-profit colleges. And so that student voting with their feet option is not nearly as practical as perhaps we would like for it to be. And so other than the student voting with their feet, the market doesn't have many incentives to offer for keeping costs low, because the point is to maximize, of course, the difference between the cost of instruction and the price of tuition. And so there are not many. I
appreciate this. You know, I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, I really worry that we've got this entirely backwards. We tell people, especially women, low-income people, people of color, that the only way to get ahead is a college diploma. We watch accreditors rubber stamp the schools that are giving out those degrees. We pour billions of dollars in federal money into those schools, no matter how poorly they educate their students. And then we let Wall Street get in on the gravy train by raking in the cash from these outfits. So we ultimately ask for money back with interest, not from colleges, not from the employers, but from the students, with no regard to whether or not they got a return on their investment. And
so I mean, this is it's largely a scam, and people who are stuck in a position that they feel they are precluded from moving forward in their profession because they lack a degree, get sucked into a lot of these programs. And there's just simply, these programs do not offer the data to establish that it's worth it. There are some programs I've heard that are actually, that seem to me to be okay, that they defer the cost of the tuition, to and narrow your responsibility to pay back to the delta between what you were earning and what you ultimately end up earning after you graduate. But those type of programs are few and far between. The real money makers, and these are big companies. They are big corporations making a lot of money. They are publicly traded corporations, are basically geared towards selling the idea that this will help you without any data to that effect, and just holding people over until they get their second installment of their loan. It's super messed up. And this was something actually that the Obama administration was doing quite well on in the second term. And they knew the day after Donald Trump got in, because Donald Trump is a Republican. And the Republican Party, if there is really any genuine, heartfelt policy at the heart of their policy program, it is to take public money and put it in the hands of private entities. And that's what this is about.